Well, children that have great physical disability, there is usually in the school a room that is put aside for this, for changing. Sometimes they have hoists, sometimes they have special equipment that is borrowed for a certain time for a certain child. The Education Board does have rooms. They're not just the medical room, they're a room that's specially there to help these children. And they will come before the child comes to school and they'll check out whether the wheelchair can go down the ramp, if the ramp needs to be built, if they can get through the doorways, all sorts of things like that.
My boy that I look after, he's very high needs. Basically with him 24/7, like in the classroom, basically. Need to feed him, change him.
To even supporting him when he's sitting, moving him from his wheelchair to his standing frame, using hoists for when we need to change him. The hoist is just for changing him. That's to take him from his wheelchair onto his changing bed and back into his wheelchair. Even though he loves it, it's like a swing for him and he just laughs the whole time. He thinks it's hilarious.
Basic stuff that kids do if they're a normal child, we just basically do it for him. We do a lot of standing splints that he stands in just to straighten his legs, because he's actually a wheelchair-bound child.
Because he's spending all his day in his wheelchair, so the standing frame keeps his body nice and straight, and it's good for his whole internal workings and for his bones and his muscles. And I mean, without a standing frame, I mean, you could work with it so much with his leg gaiters, but even then, that's only straightening his legs. I mean, his body, because when you put them in his gaiters, he likes to pull himself up and down and stuff like that. At least in the standing frame, he's actually fully strapped in, so he can't actually move at all.
It's good for his body just to stretch him out and stuff, and we strap him in and stuff, and he has his morning tea, so he's basically straight up and down.
He has finger supports because he's problems with his little fingers, so he has finger supports, and he also has wrist supports as well. Then he has leg gaiters, which when he's not in a standing frame, we can put the gaiters on his legs. And then he has different floor equipment, like he has a wedge which you can lie him on, and you do physio with him. He's a special bench that we sit on him with, just things like that.
Like after morning tea, he'll go back and then we will put the hoist comes out, and it's just like a wee sack thing, as you call it. You put it in, then you just undo them all and then lift them out. Like it's all electric, so just buttons and stuff, which is good.
Oh, very, very important. If he didn't have these sorts of equipment, so if you're sitting all day hunched up in a chair, you need that stretching. You need to be able to get everything moving and happening. Otherwise, it's not very good health-wise at all for the internal workings. But it's just good. It builds him up, puts a bit of strength, straightens his spine, lovely.
And it's just good for the teacher aides as well with lifting and stuff, because it can be a burden sometimes on your back.
Safety for him, and the hoist is also better support for our backs, because otherwise with all the bending over, lifting and carrying, it's not good on ourselves either. It can be a bit hard.
But basically that's the main two big equipment things that he uses.
Most of the resources that I will use will be from my funding the ministry provides us, because I want something fresh, something the children have never seen before, not the same old texts and books coming out again, because these kids already know they're in trouble, they do. And there's no use kidding them. They often know if the group is called the Beatles or the Elephants. They know jolly well which group that is.
Schools aren't the greatest at this sometimes, because they always feel that money's not so prevalent. But they can use school equipment, and usually with the teachers they come to some agreement. But teacher aides are amazing people, and they go out and buy things because they're going through with their warehouse and they see something for their particular child and they think that'll do fine, and off they go. But in many cases that'll be reimbursed, but teacher aides being teacher aides often don't even think of it. They just go and get it because they see it and they think that's it.
Basically we do it all ourselves, the resourcing. We make up his keynotes, which is we take a book every week and then we make a keynote, like a press the switch, like we take photos of the book and then read the book onto the screen. And then he's listening to our voices. When he's with his buddy, we will take him outside, take photos that relate to that story, and then make a comic up which the kids can read to him in class.
From the other teachers, from other things that we've got in school, like numeracy, you're given a program and you're given a whole list of different resources that you need, so you just build up your own resources and make your own resources usually. We'll give you a plan of all the things that you need and you've just got to find them here and there wherever you can. Sometimes big steal and borrow, whatever way you can get them. But majority of resources you make yourself, or you get ideas from other teachers or from other, or even just borrow other resources and things usually, yeah.
Just as a junior teacher, you do have some good ideas for how to get children moving. So sometimes we show the teacher aides resources that they could use, and then they might go and collect, if they're real things, they might go and collect more. But we show them how to get started, or sometimes we pass over resources that we use that they can use with the children.
Special ed will have particular things for their needs of children with great disability. With other children, there is amazing things around now, wonderful dictionaries, wonderful equipment that people can handle better and easier. And also there's places like Kip McGrath and different places like that that can help and consolidate work that works with the teachers.
What we've got to do is find the freshest, the newest, the very best ways of reactivating wanting to learn. And so we will source as many different ways, purposes, things that we can use, and also our own approaches like seeking professional development, because I don't believe anybody's got the total answer as far as literacy is concerned. So my job is to go find and keep checking against what I already know to make sure I have found the fastest way to get this child back on his feet again. And so I'll find whatever it takes, set the old match underneath to set the fire going again, so that they want to learn and to love reading, yeah.
We get other resources like textile books, which is just like an orange, just a piece of fruit on a page, which looks like an orange, but it's got more texture to it, the different feelings of wool, paper, and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the resources we do ourselves between the teachers' aides and the Point 1 teacher.
There's a variety of things that we use here at the school. I guess experts come in from Teachers College here and they've given us, they might sit down with us for a day and go through how to run some of the games, and then they'll give us resources which we then go away and photocopy or make up basically for those things that we're doing. A lot of the other stuff, I guess I'm fortunate in that I can glean a little bit of information off my wife who's a teacher, and so she's able to provide me with some resources as well. And then it's just a matter of going around and asking. I mean, the teachers here are great. The environment's awesome for being able to sort of gather information. They're very helpful in being able to, want you to succeed in what you're doing. So they're more than happy to be able to, give you what you need.
One of the ways we get children to speak in sentences is actually to use books, but instead of reading the book to the child, we talk through the pictures and there's no reading. And then the child helps to tell the story the second time, and so we suggest books that would be, good for the teachers' aides to use. Sometimes when we're a little bit further on and we need them to learn letter sounds, that sort of thing, we collect up real things so that we can play games. Like we might find a plastic banana and a hammer, just things that, and then you can play games. Can you pick up the thing that starts like hand, and you can play all sorts of games, and just everyday resources really. Sometimes there are commercial resources that the school buys that also help, reading books and that sort of thing.
Generally, a teacher aide will be working to some form of job description or prescription. If you're working with one individual child, it may be that we've had special education input and advice and guidance regarding that child. It might be a communication issue the kid's got. As I say, it could be a socialisation one. Whatever reason, if they've qualified for that sort of support, it's a very hand-in-glove operation that teacher and teacher aide have to run.
Well, they are responsible to the teacher and the school, and before they join up, there'll be certain things that they will know are rules in the school and ethics that the school stands by. The same principles as a school teacher regarding children and how you touch and work with children will apply.
Be prepared to ask for help the moment you need it. That is the key. For the teachers' aides I've worked with over these years, they never ever hesitate to ask me for help. And for me, that is huge, because at the point of needing help, I can come in, redirect or support or encourage. And so you keep the whole model on track really easily.
So many children need things reinforced, and often the teacher will set the scene, and then the teacher aide will come in behind and underneath and bring it up and consolidate it.
Both of them need to know what the plan is. In theory, the professional makes the decision, the battle plan if you like, writes the prescription, and the paraprofessional, the teacher aide, puts her or his component of that into action.
If the relationship between the teacher and the teacher aide isn't working, it won't be doing the child any good. And teachers and teacher aides can be absolutely invaluable to each other and highlight each other immensely, and in fact can have fun in the classroom. It can be just tremendous.
If you sit and wait for everybody to communicate with you, you're probably going to find it's quite difficult for you. You need to be able to ask questions, you need to be able to repeat instructions. If you're not clear, the best way of making sure that you've got the right idea is to repeat the instruction in your words.
It's that feedback process where the teacher aide can openly express how she feels. Is she getting enough support? What are the resources she needs? Anything that crops up, the appraisal systems are certainly needed for ensuring that teachers' aides are well looked after.
So those needs that do crop up on a weekly basis, I'd report back to them maybe either at the end of the teaching session, whether it be sort of interval or lunchtime, and we might just discuss what's going on with them particularly. For the likes of PMP, I actually do my own assessing, so I have records that I keep as to how the kids are actually going on that, and then I use those reports and give them to the teachers concerned and also to the DP. So everybody's kept up to speed as to what's going on in those areas.
With any high needs child or a needs child, you would have meetings that would be with the teacher, all the teachers' aides, and then you'll have outside people from GSE, occupational therapists, speech language therapists, and normally once a term, once every so many weeks, you would have an IEP, as they're called, meeting where all ears got together and, on paper, and just basically what your child's needs are and what we can accomplish in the next so many months, and go from there.
I've always found that my role as a TA has always been encouraged. I've been lifted up by the teachers. The principal and deputy principal are second to none. I can't speak highly enough about them. They've always had an open door policy. They always come and check how we're going. With my new position at the moment with the boy who just needs that extra help, I've been asked continuously if I needed extra help or how's it going at lunchtime and morning tea. So I've always been very supported in that.
Ethical dilemmas, once again depending on the school, depending on the family, depending on the needs of the child, but there are often ethical situations, and ethics is a big part of teacher aiding. It runs really closely with confidentiality and not sharing information with any other parents, or quite often parents will ask how's a certain child going, or what happened to my child at school today, and if it's to do with any other children, the teacher aide is certainly bound ethically not to discuss anything at all.
Mainly privacy. It really comes down to being private, actually, what you do with the child and what the child discusses with you. If a child discusses something with you which you think needs to be taken further, which you think you need to discuss with another staff, with their teacher or higher up in staff, then you use your own discretion and you'll take it as far as you can. But usually it's multiple things. What happens with the child stays with that child.
You just got to be careful what you say and do, and you can talk to the teacher, but as far as anything else you don't. Any problems I have, or I'll discuss with the principal or the teacher, and you just don't discuss things outside school that aren't appropriate.
Every child that I work with, the parents are notified that they're working with me. So then if the parents have any problems or things, they're more than welcome to come and talk to me or come and observe me or whatever they like.
Because often teachers' aides are in a very privileged position because the children get to know them as really close friends, and often that lovely strong bond that they do develop, children might feel free to want to share something.
That can lead to the dangers of a codependent relationship growing between kid and TA, and for that reason, and it's a practice we ourselves generally adhere to, is that we won't leave one TA with an individual child for more than 3 years. You don't want to put either the adult or a child in a position where over time they've developed a total need for each other, because that kind of undoes all the benefit that comes out of that relationship.
If something did happen and they were questioning it or weren't sure of, or a child came with a story that they had maybe been abused or whatever, they would definitely, their first port of call would be the teacher that they're working under, and then the teacher would take it from there, and if there was a case, they are legally bound now to report it, so it would then go to the principal and they would make those decisions. But definitely the first port of call, the teacher aide is never on their own, and they would always go straight back to the teacher, and the teacher would then decide. The teachers often know the children and the family quite intimately as well, so they may have an explanation that's perfectly feasible. And if not, they would certainly be duty bound to go to higher authorities to make that report. There can sometimes be a clash of values from the teacher aide, cultural clashes. What the parents of the child might want may not be what the teacher aide expects from maybe their own set of values or belief systems. Even though we try to be unbiased and professional, we can't separate our own set of values and beliefs, no matter how hard we try. It's part of who we are.
I think we employed them because of their values and belief system, but the good thing is they don't actually push it on to anyone, and I mean we're not able to do that anyhow, and they're very accepting of everybody's values and beliefs.
You may not agree with them, but at the end of the day, it's the parents' wishes and the wishes of the school that you would be abiding by. The wishes of the parents is definitely at the forefront. Your own values and beliefs really must remain at the school gate. Unless there are any legal things that aren't appropriate, like maybe if the parent wanted the child isolated or put in a naughty corner or somehow separated as a form of behaviour management, a teacher aide wouldn't follow that path, because ethically it's not in the best interests of the child, even though the parent wanted it. It would only be in extreme circumstances like that where it really goes against the laws of the land and maybe the culture of the school.
When our teacher aide goes into the classrooms, the values that are taught, the kids are given time to actually reflect and think about that in relationship to themselves. The one that we're doing at the moment on personal excellence is all about them and their own personal excellence and their own beliefs and values in relationship.
Apart from that though, it's definitely however the parents choose to raise their child is how you would go with, and that's what the teacher aide would be abiding by, and wouldn't be taking on their own personal values and beliefs at all. And as you can appreciate, New Zealand is very diverse in culture, religions, beliefs. We've got really diverse communities now, so it's more important than ever that teacher aides understand that their way is fine for them and their family, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's what's best for families of children that they're working with. Schools are often reluctant to hold children back because of the social issues that accompany, obviously, development of any child. They do need to socially go up and move along the classrooms like children of this similar age. because often they may not have the learning capacity, but socially they need to be moving along with their peers. That can be a dilemma in mainstream schools also, when children the older they get, they do tend to get a little more isolated. Their peers take on a much larger role in their life, and I guess that's the beauty of target schools or schools that deal solely with children with special needs. They are positioned socially with more like-minded people developing at similar stages that they are, so they don't have the same degree of social issues that a child with high needs would have at a mainstream school, although absolutely a parent's choice, but there are lots of other things to consider, socially as children with special needs do grow older and move through the system.
I think that I can relate to most kids, and I get down to their level and kind of just hang out with them. That's part of why I like doing this job. A couple of years ago we had a autistic boy here, and but this child was just way off the kind of scale for me, and I really did find that particularly difficult. The thing with me is I didn't know anything about autism, so I had to ask some questions pretty quickly, because their needs and what they see are quite different to what you and I do. So once I understood a little bit about where he was coming from, then I was able to maybe understand him better and consequently work with him better. And that was a real challenge. And I didn't feel like I was thrown in the deep end. There was support from, I've been down to a number of courses through GSE, group special ed, and so they helped me with specific behavioural problems that came along with that. So you don't get sort of kind of left in the lurch, as it were. You kind of do have other support out there other than just the school to help you.
You often find the children who can't express themselves, that's why they run into social problems, because they can't talk to other children about what they need, and they either go up and touch the children or they lash out at other children, and it's really just a form of communication. It's not really that they really want to hit or grab them. It's just their form of communication. So if you can build up oral communication, you actually alleviate those other problems for them.
So just a few days after starting here as a teacher's aide, I had an experience with a child with whom his dad had passed away a year or so prior to me coming. And we were doing something on the mat, I can't just remember what it was, but he just burst into tears. And this child was just beside himself, actually. I mean, he was a year 6 kid. He was, reasonably an older boy. The teacher was really sensitive to what was going on, and she stayed in the room, obviously. I mean, I wasn't with him by myself, but she just kind of pushed everybody to one side and kind of left me. And I put my arm around this boy, and I really didn't say anything to him, but was just there for him. And he just opened up, about what had happened to Dad, and we kind of chatted. And we left that sort of situation. I mean, I didn't say terribly much, but at interval he came over, he seen me, I was somewhere else in the school, and he just ran over towards me, wrapped his little arms around me and, hugged me. Now, some people would say, that's not too, such a good situation for, a male to be sort of in a role of hugging children, but I mean, it was a safe environment. I wasn't like, by myself with them. There was other people here. So you've got to have that sort of compassion. It just kind of happens. And yeah, I don't know how to, that's just the way I'm wired. If somebody's hurting, you go and assist them, And the people here are really particularly helpful in that regard. They go, well, if somebody needs a helping hand, well, you go and help them. And the whole physical touch thing is, I think for some children they don't have a lot of that, and so, especially for a man, doing some of that is kind of healing in a way.
Often I say to boys especially, who I can tell by the way they move, like the look is, do I really have to be here? And I just say to them, what do you want to do when you grow up? What are you going to use for money? I mean, do you want a car? Do you want a licence? And so Oh yes, and they really haven't thought through. They think they're going to get the money and they think they're going to get the job very easily. But then we touch on, when you want a licence, you will need to read. When you go to bank, and if you want to own a business or if you want to work for yourself, how are you going to know if someone's going to trip you up and take more money than they're entitled? You are going to have to be able to read. And so the purpose of why we do things is driven right through, so that they see that this is not just for the here and now, it's for the all that lies ahead as well.
The other thing, I had a little wee boy who had fetal alcohol syndrome, and if you've ever seen Finding Nemo, this wee boy was like Dory. He had sort of like a 2 or 3 second kind of memory span, so you'd say something to him and 2 or 3 seconds later he'd forget it, and you'd have to redo it over and over again. And but he was just a likeable sort of kid, you know. He was just fantastic. I really just appreciated working with him. It was just so funny because often he'd forget something that you said like just a couple of seconds ago. You'd have to go over and over it. And again, those children are, they're special, but they've got wonderful personalities and all sorts of other things. And so yeah, it was a challenge, but we got there in the end. I mean, we didn't beat up one another or anything like that. It was just it was fun. Yeah, it was fun.